Welcome back to the BlackLabel Podcast, everybody. Troy's out for the week, so I'm flying solo. But we have an awesome guest today, and we're going to get some unique perspective. He's a BlackLabel athlete. He's an offensive lineman for the Brown Bears at Brown University, wears number 72. Hayden Bozich is joining us today on the BlackLabel Podcast. What's up, Hayden?
How you doing? Glad to be here.
Glad you're taking a break or taking time off your winter break, right? Because that's college. You're about ready to go back for the spring semester. So appreciate you coming on the show with us.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to get time off. We finished up our season about mid-November, and then we had a little bit of time off for exam period. And then now I get a nice little break. We end about the December 19th, and then I go back like the 24th. So we get a nice break.
Oh, dang.
From school and everything.
The 24th of January?
Yeah.
Oh, that is a nice break.
Yeah, very nice.
So tell me, so you told me you're joining here today from your home where you grew up, right? And then, so tell me where that is, and then also where Brown University is.
Yeah, so I grew up in Steubenville, Ohio. I went to Lindsley High School. It's actually a school in West Virginia right across the border from me. I started going there in 5th grade, and then I stayed there all the way throughout high school. And then I committed to Brown before my senior year. They were actually the first school that offered me, and within about a week and a half, I believe it was, I felt it was the right fit for me. I knew they only had one more spot available at my position, so I just kind of felt like the timing was right, and it was the school I had really admired since about the spring before my senior year, and then so now I go up to Brown. It's in Rhode Island, and it's been a better fit than I expected. Everything kind of worked out really smoothly with academics and athletics, so I've been great. I've been really happy up there.
So tell me about the recruiting process. Like, this wasn't specifically a question I was going to think about asking, but you mentioned this. You got offered by them first and then a few other schools. So how was that decision process? Like, what did you go through to make the final decision? And I know with decisions, like, you never really know until you get there. So talk me through that.
So when I first started to try to get recruited, my goal was to I wanted to try to get to the Ivy Leagues. That was like my biggest goal. I had pretty good grades in high school, but at first I kind of felt like I was like overreaching my boundaries or whatever. But eventually the opportunity came along. I had some interest from other schools, but Brown was the first one to kind of reach out and talk to me. And Brown was also one of the earlier schools in the recruiting process. And I have a great relationship with my offensive line coach. So that had definitely a big factor. I got to build that relationship from probably December, January of my junior year all the way until the summer right before my senior year. So the things that really influenced me in the recruiting process was how does the academics fit me? How does the athletics fit me? And then what kind of situation is the school in? And at the time, Brown, we were kind of in a rebuilding phase because our coach had left. The coach had retired in, I believe it was 2018. And then the new coaching staff, which is still the current coaching staff, came in, I believe it was 2019. And then COVID happened. So Brown was rebuilding at a time that was very difficult to rebuild. Mm-hmm. And what I saw from that coaching staff and the players there after I had went up and visited is that they were really seriously bought into winning for Brown, not just for themselves. And my head coach played at Brown. He played quarterback there, and he's a legendary Ivy League player. And I could see his love for Brown and his passion for Brown. And from an offensive line standpoint, I could see how much my offensive line coach loved football, which I love football. I like to be around guys who love football. So that really stuck out to me most from Brown. And I got to that point. I went up there for camp, actually. So during the recruiting process, the schools have the camps in the summer and whatnot. And I had actually gotten offered right after the camp. And I guess that kind of made it special in a way, but that wasn't really any kind of deciding factor for me. So about a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I had still been contemplating other things. I had a lot of schools reach out to me after that point, but the common denominator there was they wanted to see like the first 3 or 4 games of my senior year. And at that point, I was stuck between, do I choose to go to a school that I know I want to go to, and I feel the situation is great, and potentially miss out on that opportunity if someone takes that other spot within the next month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I kind of pulled the trigger on it. It felt right, and looking back on it, it was the best decision I could have made. So can't complain at all.
Wow, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that story. I think that's something a lot of the people that can resonate with that have been through that process, or some of the athletes that are watching this that may be getting ready to go through the recruiting process. And we all will have our own ways of figuring that out, but that's cool.
Awesome.
It sounds like obviously you love football and have a passion for it, which is awesome, but you really academics is very important to you, because you mentioned that you wanted to go to an Ivy League school at first, right? So your whole time, regardless of maybe not playing football or playing football, Ivy League was your goal, right?
Yes. So obviously, we all dream of like FCS or FBS Power 5, Ohio State or whatever. But like after my junior year, I kind of realized that it's probably not going to be realistic. So I then took the aspect where if I'm going to go to a Division I school, which I was getting recruited mostly by FCS schools at that point, I realized, if I could get a school that affords me really high academics and can set me up for a great future. Not that any other kind of schools can't, but I see the Ivy League as being very prestigious. So if I could find that opportunity through football, then that would be wonderful. And then it just kind of all panned out like I had previously explained.
Right. That's very cool. And we haven't got into this, but you are an offensive lineman. What specific position do you play?
Cool. So I play a left tackle.
Okay.
So freshman year, I came in with my biggest expectation was to make the traveling team, and we got to week one. Week one was a home game, but I had been penciled in to be on the travel roster at that point. So I hit my goal going into week one, and then I look out there at the end of the fourth quarter of game one, and our right tackle's down. So my first playing experience was week one versus Bryant, and I went in at right tackle or left tackle. Our left tackle went to right tackle because I had played left tackle throughout high school, and I was just more familiar with the position.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to score to tie the game, and then from there we went into overtime, and then we ended up winning in double overtime.
Oh.
So my first playing experience was just kind of, I guess I want to say a dream scenario, but at the same time, like almost the opposite of a dream scenario where I have no experience at this point, and I just kind of got to go there and fight it out. You know what I mean? So this year, now going into my sophomore year, I'm currently a sophomore. I moved back over to left tackle, and I started the whole season there.
Okay, and that's cool. I feel like it doesn't always happen this way, but there are so many stories that are similar to yours where it's like you're thrown into the fire, maybe not ready for that specific position. I mean, what the most people think of is a quarterback, right? When a quarterback goes into a position where they're a backup quarterback, somebody gets hurt, and they go in and all of a sudden they become the best quarterback for the team, right? We don't really talk about other positions, but that's really the situation you were in.
Yeah, I think something specific with offensive line play too is there is like a physical maturity you have to have at some point. So I don't want to say I was underdeveloped as a freshman, but I was nowhere near as developed as I am now. And I can kind of credit that to the strength program at Brown. But the biggest thing really for me was just go out there, have the best understanding of what I can do, and really just fight it out my freshman year. Because I ended up starting, I believe it was 6 games that year, just with injuries or whatever. That's my freshman year. So yeah, I think the biggest thing at that point is, at that point you learn how to experience the maturity of the college level really early, and I wouldn't have rather had it anyway because I feel like it prepared me to play more snaps my sophomore year.
Yeah. Now, with offensive line, and you learned a different position within the offensive line, how different was it going into that? Like, I don't have a super good understanding of the playbook from an offensive line standpoint. So, was it similar from right tackle to left tackle or left tackle to right tackle, or did you have to really learn something totally different?
Yeah, so the biggest thing I see is the schematics aren't different, but the footwork is flipped, like in every aspect. So for me, I had played left tackle, or the left side of the ball all the way up through my sophomore year, and then that's in high school. And then in high school, junior year and senior year, I played left tackle. So I didn't really have a lot of experience as a right tackle, and the schematics, like I said, aren't very different, but the footwork, everything is quite literally opposite. And when I was brought in and recruited, I was strictly brought in to play left tackle.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, the summer going into my freshman year, all I'm working on is left-sided footwork. And then, I get out to the game and got to go in it right. And it really, at that point, it was, I kind of just had to take it upon myself to go out and get like a little bit of extra reps after practice, or while a certain group is out there on the field during practice, go in off to the side and just get a few steps in, because I would say it's a little bit of a mind-muscle connection type deal.
Oh, yeah.
Where everything's familiar on the left side, and then when you go over to the right, everything's just kind of reversed, like I said.
No, I know exactly how that is. I was playing with something today. I'm a long jumper, and I was trying to do a specific skill that I haven't done in a while. And it's a very simple thing, but I haven't done it in a while. And it was awful. Like, I was like, what is going on? Like, this is something I used to do all the time. And I just, not a drill that I have done in a while. But so I know what you're thinking. And that's what brought up that question, because even though you totally understand the position, because it's reversed, like making your body do it the other way in a game scenario, double overtime, like that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I would say too, a comparison might be not quite learning to shoot like a layup left-handed if you're a basketball player.
Oh, that's a good example.
So you're used to shooting with your right, and then that left hand's a little bit awkward. With a little bit of practice, you can kind of figure it out, but it's never like really the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would say that might be a pretty decent comparison.
Yeah, that's a great example. So you wear number 72. Is that significant?
Not really. So I started my freshman year in high school wearing 77, and we had an upperclassman that wore 72, and I just kind of liked how it looked. And then I switched to 72 my sophomore year, and I just kind of kept it ever since. So I don't plan on changing it anytime soon.
Yeah, looks good. I know there's always, it seems like in college football is 50-50, right? Either the number is significant or it's the only number that was available for your position, so that's what you wear.
Yep.
So I have some notes here. Some of your credentials, it looks like, and you can tell me if I pronounce this wrong, but you were on the Feel Steel Ivy League honors list this last year. Is that right?
I was third team All Ivy on the Phil Steele rankings. So I was not on the honors list, but the Phil Steele is kind of like an outside analytical type rating. Mm-hmm. So Phil Steele does he does ratings for each league, I guess, or each conference.
Right.
And yeah, so I'd earned that after the previous season. Yep.
And then I read on your bio, within the team, you earned another award. And I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but Kevin, so you could tell me a little about that. So
yeah, I had, after the first year, I had got the Kevin Kehoe Award, or Kehoe. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. I think it's Kevin Kehoe. It's awarded to the freshman who contributes most to the team on that specific season. So out of my freshman class, I was awarded that. And then, that's just one award they give out every year to the freshman who kind of contributes most or gets the most playing time.
Yeah. That's great. And it sounds like it set you up for obviously a great sophomore year, and you're looking forward to a couple more great years of football. Just give me a little recap. You said the team started rebuilding during COVID, and we know that rebuilding a football team is not an easy task, especially in the college level. Give me a quick review of this season, how you felt it went, and the direction your team is going.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. So, from my understanding, being at Brown for 2 years, coaching changes in the Ivy League are very significant. I look at a lot of the programs. Harvard's coach has been there for a long time. Yale's coach has been there for a long time. Buddy Tevens at Dartmouth, he recently passed away. Not to bring that up in specific, but he was there for a very long time. So coaching changes in the Ivy League are very significant. And I think our coach coming in, especially having to deal with it during COVID, it was like very difficult. But what I see and what I can have I guess other players on my team attest to it, the culture shift that has happened since my head coach has been there is very significant. And I can even see a difference between my freshman and sophomore year. I see a team that has progressively gotten a better record since our current head coach has been there. I see a team that from my freshman year to sophomore year, the amount of guys in the locker room who are really bought into winning for Brown, not just going out there and getting individual stats, I guess, that has really increased. So I feel like as a team or whatever, we're just in general better set up for success. My freshman year, we were 3-7, and then my sophomore year, this past season, we were 5-5, and we were kind of really on the outside looking in for an Ivy League title. We just came out on the short end of the stick on a lot of close games with some other Ivy League schools. But this coming season, we have a lot of, seniors who had the COVID fifth year, the extra year of eligibility. There's a lot of those guys coming back. Our starting quarterback's coming back. A few guys on defense. Our left guard, the left guard I play with is first team All-Ivy. He's coming back as well. So we're kind of revamping. Everyone's going to have another year of development, and I'm really looking forward to this next season. I think we have a great shot.
Yeah, getting excited for spring ball already. You mentioned before we started that your school starts probably a little later than the typical spring semester. So you start January 24th. Do you go right into spring ball at that time, or do you guys wait a little bit?
So they'll have, I don't want to say the wrong amount of time, but I believe it's 8 or 9 weeks of winter strength and conditioning. So that will go from the following Wednesday after I get back all the way up until the end of March, I believe it is, when we start spring ball.
Okay. I guess it's the weather up there is probably like Idaho. You probably can't really start spring ball till you get into the end of March because the weather doesn't cooperate.
Yeah, so we have in general Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday are strength days. We do a lot of footwork and speed training on those days, and then Wednesday is our main conditioning day. Not that there isn't some kind of conditioning on the other days, but Wednesday is really we don't work out in the weight room. It's strictly either on the field once it starts getting warmer, or inside, or on the field outside, or when it's cooler, we're inside doing all that conditioning on the Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm. How does you mentioned earlier that the maturity of a player, especially in the line position, because of strength and just knowledge of the position, makes a difference, and your conditioning and your strength training and all that off-season work contributes to that. How does your nutrition play a role, or what role does that play for you specifically?
Yeah, so I'm a 325-pound human, so I have to eat a lot of food.
Yeah.
it's definitely something. Going into probably my senior year in high school, I started to take a little bit more seriously because I realized that, I'm going to end up playing Division One. I should probably educate myself on the amount of protein I should be eating, the amount of carbs I should be eating, what food has a certain amount of protein, what food has a certain amount of carbs. So I started educating myself on that kind of my senior year of high school, and then I've really carried that over into college now. So my freshman year, I came in at about 300 pounds, 295 to 300, and then I stayed at that weight all my freshman year. I feel it's really important to maintain weight over the course of the season, because if you're not getting enough calories in, a lot of people tend to lose a lot of strength. And then from a recovery standpoint, you have to keep that weight on so that you're not getting too small, especially for a position where I have to be heavier. And then, moving forward into my sophomore year, the biggest emphasis was just putting on as much muscle and getting as strong as possible. So over the course of 9 months, I added about 20 to 25 pounds. And I was eating 5,500 to 6,000 calories. It was
very
difficult.
Yeah. So 5,500 to 6,000 calories. That's insane, man. Like
it's very.
What were you eating? Like, what was it? Did it matter, or was it like very specific things?
I would have a few like meals that just added calories for no reason, just because I had to. But I ate a lot of, go to the cafeteria, eat like 8 to 10 eggs after working out, bagels.
Oh my gosh.
A lot of carbs and protein. That's just like the biggest emphasis. And then whatever else comes. But
yeah,
a lot of chicken, a lot of steak. You find ways to add to stuff with certain sauces. I was eating a lot of peanut butter. Peanut butter is really high in calories, so that's definitely a good source. A lot of milk. So yeah, I was pretty steady with that, and I did have to at that point supplement protein powder to get a little bit extra protein in, but that was always just an additive from my food.
Right.
So yeah, it was a tough process, but I don't know if I'm going to have to get to that point again. We'll see kind of where the future takes me, but
yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And you mentioned protein, and I think that is like there's no like one single thing that an athlete should eat or not eat, right? But I think protein is one of the key things for any athlete to build the strength and muscle, especially where you were trying to put on size, but it was needed to be good size, right? You couldn't just be out there eating, pizza all the time. So,
right.
And a convenient way to get protein is a protein powder. You've been using the BlackLabel protein powder for the last, 4 or 5 months. Tell me a little about it. Like, how do you use it? Is it like a once a day thing just to get a little extra protein in? Do you like how it mixes, how it tastes? Like, just tell me what you think.
Yeah, so starting, I guess, from flavors, my favorite is chocolate peanut butter, by the way. And then I love the raspberry ones too. But besides that, I currently right now, I'm actually cutting weight just a little bit, like really slowly, like 10 pounds over the course of like a few months. Mm-hmm. But with not eating as much, the protein powder is definitely something I need, because I try to eat at least 280 to 300 grams of protein a day, which is pretty difficult. So
yeah, it's hard.
Adding it in as a supplement is really important for me, because it's not super high in calories, but it's very high in protein. So for me, I like to drink it like right after I work out. Sometimes I will use it like in the morning. I'll do 1 scoop in a protein shake or something like that, and then 1 scoop after I work out. Or sometimes I'll just do 2 scoops after I work out. So right now I'm normally doing 1.5 to 2 scoops a day. Mm-hmm. So my best results, I guess I could say, I don't know if it's superstition, but has been after, like, using it directly after I work out, just to get that protein in right away.
Yeah, no, that's what all the sports dietitians say. Like, protein's important throughout the day to hit our daily protein goals, but specifically right after workout, whey protein is able to, especially after workout, sometimes maybe you don't feel like eating as much or whatever because your stomach's still kind of crazy from the workout. So whey protein is definitely the best option for post-workout. So what you're saying just from feeling matches what all the sports dietitians and all of our advisors suggest is the right way to do it.
Right, and I think too, like it's easily digestible, so you get it through your system pretty quickly. And that window after you work out, your body's taking in nutrients a little bit more than it would throughout the day. Your metabolism's a little bit higher, so like you said, it's scientifically backed up that it's important to get protein in at that point. I controversially mix it with water. Some people
not a milk guy, huh?
I do. I think it tastes better with milk. It's just sometimes when I go to the gym, I don't always have milk with me. So
right. It's more convenient for sure.
It's just more convenient.
Yeah. Now that's not controversial. I think that's pretty common, and it gets you. It's a good way to do it. So, I do want to touch on academics at Brown. So, an Ivy League school, for most of us, we hear Harvard, we hear Yale, Oxford, I think would be considered that. It's not in the U.S., but that kind of school, right? What can you explain, like even simply, maybe the differences between an Ivy League and maybe a traditional like Ohio State or a state-run school, and how you felt that there is a difference about?
Yeah, so I don't want to give a direct comparison to non-Ivy League schools because I haven't been through that. I haven't went through that process. I can hear what friends tell me, I guess, that I know that go to schools like that, but I haven't been able to experience it, so
yeah.
I don't want to give too much of insight.
Right. Yeah, just from your experience, like you don't have to worry about.
I would say it's definitely a rigorous workload. What I have experienced as an athlete is at Brown. I can't speak for other Ivy League schools, but I would assume that they have something similar to this. There's a lot of, I guess you could say, tools or different departments, academic departments within the athletic department itself that can help you. So whether it's tutoring or getting you connected with a teaching assistant for a class or just any kind of resources. I guess I think resources would be the best term for that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources to help you if you are struggling. I haven't had too much struggle, but what I like to see is that the athletics do a really good job helping athletes if they are struggling because they know that there's a lot of workload with classes. What I found, and this sounds like cliche, but I'm big on writing down everything I have to do for my week. So time management might not be the word, but pretty strict organization of, hey, like Monday and Tuesday night, I'm going to work on this. And then Thursday and Friday night or Wednesday and Thursday night, I'm going to work on that. So at the beginning of the week, I like to go into it knowing what I have to do each night so that I can kind of work around times where I can have some time to myself, you know what I mean? So from my experience, I would say it wasn't necessarily a shock, me going there. I felt like I was pretty prepared out of high school to go there, but it's definitely a tough experience. I think I expected a lot, and it met the expectations. So I didn't go in super cocky, thinking I'm just gonna breeze through school, and then it came and stabbed me. That didn't really happen, but I went in with high expectations, and it kind of met them.
You definitely have a maturity when it comes to a self-development. Like you mentioned, you figured out that you need to plan out your week. And that even goes back to when you were a senior in high school, you talked about needing to learn how to eat better. Did that like just personally come? Did you have that kind of example from parents or another coach? Like, because I don't think a lot of people necessarily think that way.
Yeah, I would say from the whole eating perspective, that probably came pretty internally. I struck up a big interest for that kind of stuff, so that might have helped me. But I would say I had a strength coach in high school who I would say he was very big into development. I was also pretty close with a former football coach at my school, and he was actually my homeroom teacher in high school. And we would kind of always work together setting goals for myself. So I think I could definitely give some credit to a few coaches that I had where they were like, hey, like over the next few months, like what do we want to get done? Or this senior year, what do we want to get done? So I would say, yeah, I definitely had some guidance along the way. I definitely give credit to that. I feel like I have pretty decent internal motivation to learn about that kind of stuff with self-development. So yeah, I am definitely big on goal setting. I feel like that was taught to me by a few coaches. So I like to write down goals and hit them pretty specifically.
Yeah. You're very motivated and purpose-driven human, so that's great, and it shows so far, at least in being young and the successes you've had already. What's the craziest assignment you've had so far?
Oh, okay. Kind of a thought here.
It doesn't have to be the craziest, but just something you were just like, when you got to college, you're like, and started doing it, you're like, okay, I'm definitely in Ivy League school.
Yeah, let me think here. Oh, okay. So this was probably maybe not the hardest thing I had, but probably the biggest thing that kind of like jumped out to me right away, I guess. So it took 2 marketing classes my freshman year, and I didn't really realize how much writing I had to do for them. So I get like midway through the semester, and the one class, which a lot of people their freshman year end up taking, it's called it's like managerial decisions or something like that. There were like, you have to read these case studies and then write 5 to 7 page reflections on them. So I had 3 of those due by Thanksgiving, and then this other marketing class I had 2 7 to 10 research papers due. So I took 2 classes that had a bunch of writing like shoved together that I wasn't really aware that I was going to have to do. So I did have a good probably 4 to 5 weeks where I had to write about 40 to 50 pages worth of stuff, which that was pretty strenuous on top of having to do all the research for them. I don't know if that's a direct example of what the Ivy League experience is like, but it might have just been bad course selection by me.
No, that sounds pretty wild.
Yeah.
So no, thanks for sharing that. So we're going to wrap this up now. Anything else that you would like to share about whether it's... Oh, I guess I want to ask you what you're studying. I didn't even ask that.
Oh, I'm studying health and human biology right now.
Okay.
So I'll declare that pretty soon here. Actually, I'm glad you asked that because I have to declare within like the next 2 months.
Oh, okay. So the marketing class and all these other things are just general education stuff that you're going through before you get into your programs. Is that right?
Yeah. So Brown has something called the open curriculum. So we actually technically don't have general education courses. The only courses required by Brown University are 2 writing requirements. Everything else, you can kind of tailor make your schedule. It's not like you come in and they really tell you what classes you have to take, which I had learned about that actually after I committed to go there, probably more in detail. But that's been really nice for me because I don't have to take like a certain math class that typically wouldn't be involved in my major.
That sounds awesome. I think every university needs to take that route.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, now I think I'm done with all those questions. Thanks for sharing that stuff. Like, it's been awesome talking to you because I was looking forward to this ever since we tried to schedule it back in when we start, like November or something, way back then we started talking about it because I knew, like as an athlete, you had a great experience, but then going to school at Brown is obviously not a cakewalk. And being able to balance those two has been really cool. And to learn about your self-motivation and your personal development and being a human with a purpose, like going forward, is super cool. So is there anything else you want to share with us?
Not really in particular. Thanks for having me on. It's been good getting to guess talking about myself a little bit. I don't get to do that all too often.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's been great. Really been happy with the products I've got from you guys. I get the pre-hustle, the post-hustle, so that's the pre-workout and the protein, and then I get the creatine too. So I've been happy with all the products and all that as well.
Cool. Well, awesome. Well, Hayden, thanks again for joining us on the podcast.
All right, absolutely. Thank you very much.